Hello, welcome to the 52 Weeks podcast. My name's Steph, and we're always looking for like the next big breakthrough when the things that are actually change our lives, they're kind of boring. At least for me. Like I'll buy like planners that will help me or watch motivational videos or look for life hacks or wait for the perfect Monday or the perfect New Year's to finally change my life. But like the thing is the answer to like changing really isn't that exciting. Like, because the biggest changes in life come from the things that are so ordinary, you barely notice them. Drinking enough water, going to bed on time, walking every day, reading, 10 pages a day, saving $20, following up with someone you said you call. None of those are exciting. None of those are like headline worthy, but they work. So why is it that most ordinary habits often create the most extraordinary results? And this is hard for me because I love the big stuff. I love the big goals. But like I I talked about this in the last episode that I'm doing a year challenge for myself, and it's not like a big flashy thing, honestly. I just have 9 things that I'm doing daily and 9 things that I'm not doing daily. And like these 9 things are stuff that's been in my routine forever. They're stuff that I can realistically do daily, but so often it's easy to like forget and it's easy to get distracted. And so I'm like, what if I do 365 days and really commit to the boring and see what happens? So to start, let's talk about like why most people chase excitement. Because our brains really love a novelty, a new workout, a new diet, a new planner, a new morning routine. Those things feel exciting because they're new. But the problem is the excitement fades. And when it does, oftentimes it's not as fun to continue doing the thing without that new dopamine hit. Real change doesn't happen because something is exciting, it happens because something is repeated. And that's why the people who seem successful often have really ordinary routines. I remember, and maybe this was fake news or not, but it was like showed a bunch of like the New York skylines, right? And like the top levels at like 5 a.m., like all the lights were on. And it was just sort of talking about like, and those are like the most expensive apartments, right? But like that successful people get up and get going. Now that could have been shot anytime, but I think that like it's true. A lot of people that are successful, they're doing their same routine, and maybe they're a night person and they have their same routine, whatever it is, but just the small things that make their life not chaotic. And my sister Cassie is the perfect example of this. Cassie and my mom talks about how she's always just been organized. Like she would come home from a trip when we were younger and like put all her stuff away. But because she's so on top of it, she's not procrastinating and there's not like things building up. And there's like a lot of peace um and non-chaos in her life. And I often look at her and I'm like, I love how consistent she is and how she's built a life that's easy to maintain. From, grocery shopping and food prep and cleaning and all their childcare and routines and creating memories, like all these things are easy to maintain because it's small. And she said something the other day. She said something about like boring dopamine. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, I want my children to want that boring dopamine hit from accomplishing a task. It's not like the same as the dopamine hit of um scrolling on TikTok or um getting something delivered instead of making dinner, but like the boring dopamine of just like getting stuff done. And I really like that. So the thing is that like we all sort of know the life that we want to live. And most of us know what habits we want to have. And maybe that's you want to drink more water every day. You wanna go to bed earlier. Maybe you want to, like, cook your meals instead of eat out. Maybe you're wanting to read more, or follow up with people, or take a walk, whatever it might be. Um, but the action of it is hard. And so that same sister Cassie, growing up, her whole wall was filled with all of these quotes from Pinterest that she had cut out and put up there. And I do feel like quotes are so inspiring, and so often we like look at them but we don't do anything with them. But I hope that like whatever you're doing right now listening to this episode, maybe you're washing your dishes, maybe you're on a walk, maybe you're driving home, I want to share these different quotes with you so that like, you know, it can start some inspiration for whatever you want in your life that you feel like would help you to be better. So the first quote is, "What we are, what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." So this quote is commonly attributed to Aristotle. The second one is, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated daily in and daily out." And that's Robert Collier. And I like how it talked about small efforts day in and day out. Um, and when you are doing it daily, like I talked about my sister Cassie, it becomes easier. It's when it gets built up, it's harder. The third one, and this is attributed to Tony Robbins, it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives, it's what we do consistently. Because consistency will always outperform like occasional motivation. And the fourth is, "The chains of habits are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken." Samuel Johnson. And the chains of habits. I like how, you're just picturing this big chain and too weak until they're too strong to be broken. And how cool to have habits that it doesn't matter if you have a bad day or you got in a fight with someone or it's snowing or you lost your job, your habits are going to remain the same. They aren't going to be broken. Like that's that's a pretty cool thought right there. And the fifth one is, "Little by little a little becomes a lot." And that's a Tanzanian proverb. So little by little a little becomes a lot. And a lot of these things, mention that if you look at like habits that people are trying to form, like going to bed earlier, sleep's not glamorous. If anything, like the hustle, I'll sleep it until I die. That's more glamorous. Um, but every area of your life improves when you're feeling well rested. Drinking water isn't flashy, doesn't really feel like an accomplishment, but staying hydrated affects your energy, your focus, your mood. Saving and not going through that drive-through or, only buying what you need when you go grocery shopping, that's not fun. That's not an Instagram-worthy post, but it does add up whether it helps your financial wallet or but it does have effects, it can help you have more money in your wallet and help you eat better. Reading. So often, screens are such a big part of our life, and reading now sometimes compared to like the stuff that's constantly being reading daily. Reading, I know 75 hard, like part of that is reading, and even reading like 10 pages a day over a year, that's 1,000 pages, dozens of new ideas. Like that's cool. Just reading for 10 minutes a day. Follow up, being like, okay, who did I say I was going to keep my word to? Who was I going to email? Who I was going to call? Um, and like honestly, I feel like that can be the most underrated habit of all because but it's like people don't lose opportunities because they're untalented. They lose them because they never followed up. They didn't send an email, they didn't send a text, a thank you call. So it's interesting how there's so many things that if you areas of your life that you want to change, whether that's in business, like we said, financially, spiritually, socially, by doing these, like, boring things consistently, like, you can make great changes, and I mean, it goes along with our last episode of talking about what would your 80-year-old self like, think of what you're doing right now, and what would they want you to change. So the challenge for the week is just to pick one thing that you want to do, and one thing you wanna change in your life, and remember that changing this isn't about changing your life overnight, it's about proving to yourself that you can keep one small promise. And once you do that, you build on another habit, and then another, and that's really how extraordinary lives are built. And right now, like, I love this thought because I'm really embracing that boring. Um, I'm back on to not watching movies and TV and not being on social media and, like, and today, like, I've been bored because I haven't been constantly distracted, but, like, the boring is nice. There's not drama, like, it's predictable. I think that just remembering that there's power in being bored, there's power in having your goals feel boring and still doing them, and I love that armor quote, "The chains of a habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken." So don't underestimate the power of boring because boring is sustainable, boring is repeatable, and boring changes lives. And thank you for spending part of your week with me. I'll see you for another episode of 52 Weeks next Monday. And remember, extraordinary lives are built through ordinary habits.